Captain's Log, May 6, 2016. Today I want to talk about a really interesting project that's kind of an experiment, although the results of this experiment will never be known to the people who are conducting it. There is a movie that was just made by John Malkovich and Robert Rodriguez. John Malkovich is starring in it and wrote it, and Robert Rodriguez directed it. And it's called 100 Years, you know, like the Fight for Fighting song. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. And it's not going to be seen for that amount of time. And it seems like this sort of maybe pseudo-meta thing. And there's a trailer, and I've seen the trailer for a movie that I presumably will never get to see because I probably won't live to be 131, 32 years old when this movie is finally released, assuming it ever actually gets released. We'll get to that in a minute, but it looks like the premise behind the movie is as much as they're allowing us to see, it looks like it has something to do with people in the future finding something from the past, maybe even the movie that is being made or something else from 2015. Odd that this didn't come out last year, or that this wasn't put in a vault last year, since it's going to be 100 years before it's found, but the movie is supposed to be let out of its vault in 2115, and that's the year that it's set in. So the idea, the experiment, is it's this time capsule thing, but instead of somebody in the future opening up a time capsule and seeing what the world was like now, they would be opening up a time capsule and discovering what these people thought, what movie makers thought the future might be like. And the thing is, it at least what we've been allowed to see of it, it doesn't really look so much like somebody's vision of the future extrapolated from now. It looks a lot like a really derivative piece of people's, what people might have thought the future would look like in, I don't know, the mid to late 80s. It looks a lot like Blade Runner. It looks like a really generic, kind of really typical kind of futuristic thing. And, you know, a lot of the time when we see science fiction movies that try to extrapolate to the future now, it's not quite as futuristic as or like you know out there, like flying cars and big crazy metropolitan cities where all of the forests have been swept away and everything's in holograms and all that kind of thing, because we've kind of experienced, weirdly at the same time as we've experienced this, like increase in the speed of technological advancement, we've seen kind of a slowdown in what the world looks like in the world at large around us hasn't seemed to have looked as different as we thought it would by now. But then what we're able to achieve, and with the internet and with a number of other advancements, be it medical advancements or having, like I said, the internet in your pocket, and how much easier it's been to make video and film and things, and all of this digital technology for really professional looking things far cheaper than you've ever been able to make it before. Certainly, I'm talking about internet time all the time, where things seem to be moving at an incredible rate that, like, nothing, we're going to get to a point where nothing will surprise us. Artificial intelligence feels like self-aware artificial intelligence feels more plausible than it ever has before. It's hard to imagine that anything we've ever imagined in science fiction won't eventually happen. It's not that far-fetched anymore to imagine that we might eventually have something like the holodeck, or just looking at Star Trek, or we might have something like the replicator, matter-to-energy conversion, or we might be able to transport someone from one place to another. So I have no doubt that in 100 years the technological advancements will be staggering, but will it look like the world of Blade Runner? I just saw a video the other day about a contact lens that is supposed to be able to shoot video, and you would control it with blinking, and you'd be able to basically log your you'd be able to log kind of your memories in real time, sort of just whatever you're able to see. And it's a lot like that. I'm trying to remember the name of that movie. There was a Robin Williams movie kind of about this, where you would, and I don't know how much memory is on that thing, but considering that we've got flash drives now where you can buy like a terabyte for 35, 40, 50 bucks, I have no doubt that we will at some point get to where we have a thing that small that would allow you to record a whole lot of film at one time. But yeah, there's a Robin Williams movie about that where people that's about kind of the social implications of people like constant surveillance, like personal surveillance, and keeping track of everything that's ever happened to them, and being able to roll forward and backward video of somebody's entire life. It's not actually memories, but just video that you're recording all the time. Anyway, I digress. These things are all a lot of new things possible that we never thought would be. A lot of things are plausible that might not have seemed so plausible 20 years ago. So I have no doubt that in 100 years, the world is going to look very, very different. And my question is, was this an attempt at being as just like making a really cool, fun science fiction movie, or were we really trying to guess what the future would look like? Because, like I said, just looking at that trailer, it looks like a pretty generic kind of glimpse at what someone might think the future looks like, and you got to wonder if anybody will actually ever see this movie, and if they do, what it's going to be like, if it's going to be like a letdown to them, or if the cinema will even exist in anything like the way the form it does now. And I don't even mean just movie theaters. Like, I have no doubt that in 100 years, people probably won't still be driving to movie theaters. I have a really hard time buying. I mean, there might be places where, assuming that things don't radically change, that our society doesn't radically change, where there's some sort of kind of social Armageddon or something, where we have like a step back in our technological progression. But barring some kind of giant catastrophe, California falling into the ocean, or any number of major ecological events, barring any of that stuff, let's say that things are more or less like they are now in how our society functions, and that there's not like a dictator of the world, or a fascist government that's taken over everything, or something like that. The United States is still intact. That sort of thing. Barring insane tragic catastrophe, I imagine there might still be, kind of like retro places and stuff where you can go out and sit down and watch a movie, but I imagine that'll be kind of kitschy for people. It's likely to be kind of a novel experience. Right now, and I saw comments from people on an article I read that were saying things like, well, obviously, everything will be on the internet at that point, and we won't really be going to theaters. In 100 years? Don't you think we'll even advance beyond that in some way, in some capacity? I don't know that sitting down and watching moving pictures is still going to be our prime source of entertainment, or if it is, it seems like it's likely to be handled in some other way, and perhaps that movie tackles that. I probably will never know. But even if we are still watching movies and watching them in a similar sort of way, regardless of whether or not there are movie theaters, there are a lot of assumptions being made with this project that anybody would ever actually see it. Like, just because a vault's going to open, first of all, how do you know that it's going to be preserved? Now, I'm not saying that something like this shouldn't be done. I think it's a really interesting idea. I'm kind of all for it, but I'm just kind of asking questions. Like, okay, the vault is supposed to be set to unlock on a certain date on 2115. and the idea is that it's assumed that it would be preserved by the I guess a film society or the Cannes Festival itself. Would the Cannes Festival still be around in 100 years if cinema is different, or if we don't have cinema the way we think of it now? Who knows? And even if it is, what if it gets opened up and somebody watches it and it's kind of awful, or it's just not that good. Like, I imagine it will still be shown, but that would be somewhat of a letdown, right? But then, are people going to be looking forward to this? Like, is this a thing that I kind of imagine people are going to forget about this? Like, it doesn't seem like a thing that's going to stay on people's radar, like, just because it's John Malkovich. And Rodriguez, I think it's possible that it kind of gets buried and people just forget that it exists. It might be kind of neat then if, that vault opens and people are like, oh, wow, what is that? And then they go Google it, or they do this with their neck, and then their brain goes to some sort of archive because they have because they're connected to the internet, or they have like a database, and it tells them in their brain what exactly that thing was, and then they go take a look at it and they watch this movie about what somebody in 2015 thought that the future was going to look like, and then they kind of probably laugh at it and are like, wow, those people were naive and they didn't guess anything. And, hopefully people before them weren't, that were prophesizing, or not prophesizing, but suggesting that the future could be really doom and gloom if we don't change some things. Hopefully, people like Orwell weren't more right than this movie. And of course, I don't know what exactly the kind of society is with this movie, but it certainly looks less dire and mortifying than something like Orwell. But I guess I'm just saying that because there's big cities and stuff. That doesn't really mean anything, certainly, because look at the world of Blade Runner. So I don't know. But anyway, those are my thoughts on this. I guess I can't help but want to see it, just because it's that box you can't open, and that's kind of an interesting thing. A lot of people are asking, what exactly is the point of this? Like, is it you spent money on a thing that you're never going to see a return on? Obviously, not everything is about making money. I think it's kind of neat that these guys came together and presumably pooled together their own resources to make a thing for people in the future. That's kind of neat, and again, not even just here's a legacy we're leaving behind. Just, we wanted to guess what your world is like. Well, I wonder how close we got. But of course, then they'll never know. Assuming that we don't make major scientific advancements that don't prolong our life, that we don't make huge, advancements in medical science. Because, like I said, I'm only 31. I turned 32 this year. In the world of Star Trek, by the 23rd century, you have you have human beings living as long as 140, and the average Vulcan lifespan is 200 years. I'm not using that as evidence of anything. That's a science fiction show, and I know I spend all my time doing this, but I'm well aware that it's fiction, and I can tell the difference between fiction and reality. But we've guessed some things in Star Trek, and we guessed a lot of things way before we thought they might happen, hundreds of years before. A lot of things that are really dated, not even remotely futuristic anymore, that weren't supposed to happen according to Star Trek until the 23rd or 24th century, and we're already well ahead of that. Might medical science be the same way? So my two big questions about the future, just for myself, just looking at this for a moment in a kind of a self-serving way, might I be alive when that movie comes out in 2115? And the second question is, will I remember or care? Everybody, thanks as always for watching, and leave your comments about this. I'd be really interested to see what other people think about an experiment like this. Does this seem kind of pointless if you're not going to be around to see it? Certainly, the people involved are mostly likely to be old enough that even with huge advancements in medical science, they're not likely to be around. And once again, neither am I. But is this a pointless exercise, or is this a neat kind of thing? Should we be doing more of these sorts of things? What kinds of stuff should we be making tweaking or holding back to show people in the future and try to make sure that they see it? And might we, help to remind people about history that they might have forgotten to help make sure that the future is a brighter and more prosperous place? Leave your comments, and I'd love to read them. In the meantime, I'm Captain Logan, and this concludes today's Captain's Log.